Hi, besties. What would you do if you found out about an ugly secret of your snack vendor passed down to her from her ancestors? Welcome to Folktales by IG. Once upon a time, in a small bustling village called Irumole, there lived a woman named Iya Abike. Iya Abike was known far and wide for her delicious Akara, fried bean cakes. Every morning, the village would awaken to the mouth-watering scent of her Akara, frying in a large black pot over an open flame. The aroma would waft through the air, drawing people from neighboring villages who craved the soft golden brown bean cakes. Iya Abike's Akara was unlike any other in the region. The crust was always perfectly crisp, while the inside remained soft and fluffy. People often wondered what her secret was, as many other women in the village also sold Akara, but none could match the magical taste of hers. Her store was always swarming with customers, from the poorest villagers to the wealthiest traders, all eager to get a bite. But Iya Abike's success was not a mere accident of fate. Behind her smiling face and warm hospitality lay a secret passed down through generations, a secret that she guarded with her life. Just before we continue, have you liked our story? Please subscribe, like, share, and leave a comment in the comment section. Years ago, when Iya Abike was still a young woman, she struggled to make ends meet. Her husband, a fisherman, had been drowned in the river during a storm, leaving her alone to care for their two children. Desperate to provide for them, she decided to take up Akara selling, just as her mother and grandmother had done before her. However, in her early days, she found it difficult to compete with the other women in the village. One night, as she lay awake, worrying about her children's future, she had a vivid dream. In the dream, her ancestors appeared before her, generations of Akara sellers, their faces stern and serious. They were gathered around a large pot of Akara. One of her ancestors, an elderly woman named Iya Alakara, stepped forward. Abike, she said in a commanding voice, you have been chosen to carry on the legacy of our family, but to succeed, you must follow the sacred rule. Iya Abike listened intently as her ancestor revealed the secret. Never wash the spoon you used to mix the akara batter. This spoon has been blessed by the spirits of our ancestors. It carries their essence, their wisdom, and their power. As long as you honor this tradition, customers will flock to you and wealth will follow. Startled by the dream, Iya Abike awoke in a cold sweat. She rushed to the small shrine she kept in her home, where she prayed to her ancestors for guidance. The next morning, she took her wooden mixing spoon, the same spoon her grandmother had once used, and decided to follow the strange instructions from her dream. She stirred the akara batter with it, careful not to wash it afterward, and began frying the bean cakes as usual. To her amazement, that very day, her akara sold out faster than ever before. Customers flocked to her, and her wealth grew. She was able to send her children to the best schools in the city. She built a grand house and even traveled to Lagos to expand her business. Her small stall became the most popular in the village, and as the months passed, her wealth grew. Iya Abike became one of the wealthiest women in the village. She no longer had to worry about money or her children's future. Her Akara stall had become a thriving business, and she employed several young women to help her. But despite her success, she remained vigilant about the secret her ancestors had passed down. Though she was afraid, but she couldn't tell why. She kept the wooden spoon hidden in a special box at night, never allowing anyone else to touch it, and never under any circumstance did she wash it. To outsiders, Iya Abike was the epitome of success and hard work, but within the village, whispers began to spread. Some said that Iya Abike had made a pact with the spirit. Others claimed she was using juju magic to bring customers to her stall. People noticed that she never washed her mixing spoon, and this only fueled the rumors. But no one dared confront her. After all, she was beloved by many, and her akara was the stuff of legends. One fateful day, a young woman named Kemi arrived in Irumole. Kemi had grown up in the city, but she was visiting her grandmother, who was a missionary in Irumole village. Unlike the other villagers, Kemi was educated and curious, always seeking to uncover the truth behind things. The moment Kemi arrived, she heard about Iya Abike's famous Akara. Being a lover of food and a food critic, she decided to visit the stall and try it for herself. When she tasted the Akara, she was blown away by its flavor. It was unlike anything she had ever had before. But as she watched Iya Abike work, something struck her as odd. She noticed the old worn-out spoon Iya Abike used to mix the batter, and how she never rinsed it before or after use. Kemi, being the curious soul she was, asked Iya Abike about it. "Why don't you ever wash your spoon, Iya?" Kemi asked innocently, hoping to satisfy her curiosity. Iya Abike smiled, faltered for a moment, but she quickly recovered. "Ah, my dear," she said with a laugh. "This spoon has been with me for years though. I just like it. It makes my akara taste so good." But Kemi wasn't satisfied with that answer. Something didn't sit right with her. Over the next few days, she began to observe Iya Abike more closely, watching how she handled the spoon with reverence, how she never allowed anyone else to touch it, and how customers flocked to her stall as if under some kind of spell. Kemi decided to investigate further. She spoke to some of the older women in the village, hoping to learn more about Iya Abike's story. One evening, Kemi visited an elderly woman named Mama Yetunde, who had lived in the village all her life. Mama Yetunde was known for her vast knowledge of the village's history and traditions. When Kemi asked her about Iya Abike's success, Mama Yetunde hesitated at first, but after some coercing, she revealed the truth. "Ah, my child," Mama Yetunde said in a low voice. "Iya Abike's success is no coincidence. It is the work of the spirits. Her ancestors passed down a sacred rule to her, never to wash the spoon after using it to mix the batter. They told her that the spoon carries the power of those who came before her. As long as she follows this rule, her business will thrive." Kemi was shocked. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. But how can they be? They lied to her. She asked, "It's just a spoon. Isn't this just a spoon?" They have lied to her. How can it bring her customers and wealth? Mama Yetunde shook her head. "The way of the spirits are mysterious. You just don't know it. Iya Abike has followed their instructions, and look at her now. She's one of the richest women in the village." Kemi said to Mama Yatunde, "They have lied to her. They have lied to her," she kept saying. "No, she has been lied to by her ancestors." Kemi left Mama Yetunde's house that night, her mind racing. She knew she had to do something. This wasn't right. Iya Abike's wealth and success were built on a lie, a superstition that has passed down through the generations. She couldn't let it continue. The next morning, Kemi returned to Iya Abike's store. The village was buzzing with activity as usual, and Iya Abike was busy serving her customers, but Kemi wasn't there to eat akara this time. She approached Iya Abike with a determined look on her face. "Iya," she said firmly, "I know about your secret." Iya Abike froze, her eyes narrowing. "What do you mean, child?" "I know about the spoon. You have been lied to by your ancestors. I know they told you never to wash the spoon, because your ancestors told you it will bring you wealth and customers. But this isn't right, Iya. God is the one that brings customers and wealth to you, and not your ancestors. You have built your success on a lie." Iya Abike's face turned pale. She glanced around nervously, aware that some of the customers were starting to listen in on their conversation. "You don't understand," Iya Abike whispered, her voice trembling. "This is my family's legacy. Without the spoon, I am nothing." Kemi shook her head. "You are more than that, Iya. Your akara is delicious because of your skill, because of the skill and talent that God has blessed you with, not because of some old superstition. You don't need the spoon to succeed. You have already built something incredible." Iya Abike stared at Kemi for a long moment, her eyes filled with fear and doubt. She had lived by the rule of the spoon for so long that she couldn't imagine her life without it. But deep down, she knew Kemi was right. With shaking hands, Iya Abike reached for the wooden spoon. She hesitated for a moment, then slowly handed it to Kemi. "Take it," she said quietly. "I don't need it anymore." "I believe you, Kemi." Kemi smiled and took the spoon. As she held it in her hands, she felt a strange sense of relief wash over her. The truth had finally been exposed. The aftermath of the confrontation between Kemi and Iya Abike spread quickly through the village. Some people were shocked to learn the truth, while others dismissed it as mere superstition. But over time, something remarkable happened. Without the spoon, Iya Abike initially feared that her business would collapse. After all, she had relied on the belief that the wooden spoon carried the essence of her ancestors. But to her surprise, nothing changed in terms of the quality of her akara. In fact, the very next day, her customers returned as they always had, savoring every bite of the delicious bean cakes. Gradually, Iya Abike began to realize that her success had never been about the spoon. Her success had been from God. It had been her hard work, her dedication, and her passion for perfecting her recipe. The spoon had been a psychological crutch, a tool passed down through her family's belief system. But in the end, it was her skill and the love she poured into her cooking that made her akara famous. As the days went by, Iya Abike felt a weight lift off her shoulders. She no longer had to live under the shadow of the superstition that governed her life for so long. With the spoon no longer playing a part in her life, she felt liberated and empowered. Kemi's visit to the village had stirred more than just Iya Abike's life. It has sparked conversations among the villagers. Many people had never known about the spoon or the superstition surrounding it, but now they began to question other long-held beliefs and customs that have been passed down without question. Iya Abike's business and her life encountered a new turn till today. I hope you enjoyed our story. Please do well to like, share, and leave us a comment in the comment section.